Hello. So in this episode, we're going to continue working on our SuperRails application. Now, previously we have added the search with the gem ransack and filtering, and as well we've added pagination with the gem page. And now we're going to actually improve a bit on our styling, and we're going to add new features. So first of all, we can see in our AWS console that the domain has already been verified, meaning we can update the domain settings, the email settings in our application. So we will go to config devise.rb in initializers. So devise.rb, and here somewhere we have the email sender. So it is from the previously verified email address and domain, and now I'm just going to add the newly verified domain. Okay, and we'll do the same in our application mailer. So going to our app, mailers, application mailer. So we've updated the domain and looks good. And actually, some more things we can do. So at the moment, we've got 101 users in our database and 11 pages. And what if all the users were just on one page? Just for example, let's say we will see all the users on one page. Let's say that we want to see not 10 results, but 1000 results per page. How is it going to look? Okay, you see, now we have all the results on one page and we still see the pagination. So why do we want to see the pagination if all the results are just on one page? We don't want to see the pagination. So let's display the pagination only if there is more than one page. So going back, we'll go to our app, views, users, index, and here we have the pagination, and we will display it only if at page.pages is more than one. Let's see if it works. Yeah. So now we don't see the pagination, and let's make it once again just to be 10 results per page. Going back, restarting the server. And you see, now we have the pagination. So it's just a tiny feature, but the devil is in the details. So each tiny feature counts for the better user experience. Okay, and actually, let's go back to our header. And you see, it doesn't look really beautiful. So in all these links, we check if this is the current page, and then we add these additional classes for active and font weight bold. And this can be done in a better way, so that we don't have to do this conditional check in each line. We can actually abstract this logic into a helper method. So we would go to our app, helpers, application helper, and here we would add a helper. Now, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I will just see an existing solution for this. So here I've already created a small solution. So highlight and link to current page. Basically, instead of having to write this long logic, we can use a helper and use a short link from the helper. So here we have 3 different helpers, and now we will use each of them individually and see how they work. So we are adding the 3 helpers like this. And let's see. So we have just active link 2, then deep active link 2 if we are using a block, and if we are using a dropdown, if we have a link inside of a dropdown, then we need this dropdown item class, and we're going to use this deep active link to dropdown item. Yeah, so let's try to simplify our logic. Now, at the moment, we have link to root path, and instead we will have active link to root path. So active link to root path, and now we're removing this long clause with a lot of logic. Oh yeah, here actually we need to have not just active link to, but we need to have this deep active link to, because we have this do action, so we've got a block. Okay, and let's see if this works. So I'm refreshing and going back to our home, and you see the highlight works. So this works. Let's do the same for our users. So it's going to be a deep active link to, and we are removing this clause, and our code is just going to be more readable. And yeah, let's see what else we have. So here we have link to user path, and you see these are already drop downs. So in this case, we are going to use deep active link to drop down. and we don't need this clause anymore. So we'll say do close cap, and let's just see if it works. So I go to my profile, and it works just as before. And we'll do the same deep active links to edit user registration path. And to destroy user session path. Oh, actually, here we don't need a conditional link because this is a pattern. So there's no such state when it is active. We just press it and we log out, and there is no separate page for it. Okay, and here we have this link to log in and sign up. So let's sign out. And here you see these are one-liners, so we will use just an active link to. So active link to and active link to. And we can remove the classes. And let's see if this works. So log in and sign up. Okay, so we've really simplified our logic, and this code is really reusable, and our header, our navbar looks much cleaner. Okay, looks good. And one more thing, talking about helpers, if we log in and go to the user profile, let's log in. Here you see, we have this confirmed true. And just to make all the booleans more visible, so let's highlight all the true values if it is a boolean with green and false values with red. And for this, we will actually write a new helper. So going to our application helper, actually first let's save our changes. So git status, we'll save the changes for updating the mailer emails, git commit main, update mailer emails, and again git status, git add all, and no, actually not all, we'll add this, and git commit main active link to helpers. It's really good to write a lot of commits for each thing you do so that it is easier to track the changes in the code. Okay, and for this one, we'll say git add all, git commit main. Don't display pagination if only one page. Okay, so going back, we're going to write a new helper. If a boolean is true, it's highlighted with a green, otherwise red. So let's say we will have a def boolean, let's say a boolean label, and we're going to wrap it into a value. Okay, and we are going to have a few cases. So case value, when true, we're going to have a class badge with a background success. And when false, we're going to have a badge with a background danger. So it's going to be red. Now an end here. And we're going to wrap it all into a content tag. So content tag, span, then we're going to display the value, so true or false. And we're going to add a class. We're going to add this class. So the class is going to be, and how we're going to name this class, let's say badge color. So the class is going to be this badge color. And let's see if this works. Now we will go to our users and wrap a boolean into this wrapper, in this helper. So we'll wrap user confirm, that is either true or false, into this helper, and let's see if it works. Okay, restarting the server. And doesn't look really nice. Let's go to the Bootstrap documentation and find badges. Okay, we have badge and we have badge with background primary and so on. Now, what did I do wrong? Badge, background, secondary. Let's see. So badge, background, success. Yeah, I made a typo. Okay, so we have true here. And for some kind of other users, I have confirmed false. So works. Now, if a user has confirmed his account, it is going to be visible on the spot, like the current user that is logged in. Okay, looks nice. So let's actually save our changes, git status, and git add all, git commit main, helper to see Boolean color. Okay, looks good. And now let's actually add a nice feature. We are going to add Devise Invitable. So a strategy to invite users to join our application. Let's open the gem and see how it works. So gem, Devise Invitable. Okay, so we see that it is a really popular gem, 5.6 thousand used in not private repositories. There must be even more. So let's add the gem to our gem file and see how it actually works. Go into the gem file. Okay, now my server is restarting. Yeah, it happens on Cloud 9. Okay, I run bundle. And what is next? We need to type Rails generate devise invitable install. Let's see what it does. Okay, it inserts something into devise.rb, and in the devise invitable via NVML, it basically gives us some basic translations for English if we want to use internationalization. Okay, and we should also run Rails generate devise invitable modal. So the modal is going to be user. Now, if you want to invite admins, you should add Rails generate devise invitable admin, but at the moment we have only users. Okay, so let's go to db, migrate, and have a look at the migration. Now, not this one, the devise invitable one. Okay, so we have an invitation token, when the invitation was created, when it was sent, when it was accepted, then invitation limit, how many invitations a user can send. You can set this invitation limit, then by whom the user was invited. So it is polymorphic, basically by a user and by the ID of the user, how many invitations a user has. Okay, so looks good. And the ID of who invited the user. This is actually really interesting. So let's run the migrations and continue. Rails db migrate. And you see there were some changes in devise.rb. Let's see what it did with devise.rb and with user.rb. So in user.rb, it actually inserted a line, inserted devise invitable on the beginning. Okay. And inside devise.rb, you see it added all the settings for devise invitable. Okay, so let's have a look at our devise.rb and add the settings for devise invitable. So first of all, we can have a setting for how long the invitation will be valid. By default, it's forever. You can make it 2 weeks. Then how many invitations a user can send. Then whether we want to validate the emails for the invited users or not. Then if we can resend invitations and by whom the users are invited. And if we want to allow users to automatically sign in after they accept the invite. This is actually really nice, in my opinion. Okay, going back, what else do we need to install the gem? Actually, this is everything. So let's see if it works. I will start the server. Okay, and now we've added the devise invitable to our users, and meaning we should have some kind of new routes. Let's go to our routes. Okay, and let's say invitation. You see we've got these devise invitations, accept user invitation, remove invitation, new user invitation, and user invitation path. Let's see what new user invitation path gives us. We will be able to add such a link to this page in our application. So let's go to our header, and any logged in user will be able to see this link. So we will have a link to new user invitation path. let's say invite user, invite a friend, fa user plus, there must be something like this. So a user with a plus sign, and let's see if it works. Okay, so invite a friend, I will press this button, and you see, it actually provides us a view. So Devise Invitable provides us with a view to send an invitation. Okay, so I can input some email and possibly send an invitation. Let's see if it works. I will input an email address. Okay, and press send an invitation. Let's see what happens. So it says an invitation email has been sent to this email address. And what can be seen in our logs? Here we can actually see this invitation email. So a user has invited you to this application with this URL, and by this URL you can accept the invitation. I will actually copy this invitation acceptance link, and let's in the meantime have a look at our users. We see the last user with this email, he was actually created. So this user is already created in our database. When we send an invitation via Devise Invitable, the user gets created in the database. And now let's actually impersonate the user. Let's accept the invitation. So here I paste in this accept invitation URL, and notice this invitation token. So I press it, and you see, I get redirected to the set your password page. Okay, so I will set a password. And you see, I'm logged in as this user. So this way, I, as another user, receive an email, click the email to accept the invitation, enter a password that I will have for this application, and I am logged in. And it's really nice that this Devise Invitable actually creates new user records whenever you input an email here. So works really well. And it's the way like any application like Trello works. For example, on Trello, you can send an invite to a board to like anybody from your friends, whether the person is on Trello or not. And if the user is not on Trello, Trello kind of creates his account and sends an invitation, and the person can just accept the invitation. But actually, we can also see if the user accepted an invitation or not. Now, we can write a couple of helpers for this. Let's go to our user partial, and well, we will check if the user was, first of all, created by invite. So here we have this invited by ID and all these other things, and the Devise Invitable gives us a method to check created by invite, like this. That will give us either true or false, so to know whether a user registered himself or he accepted an invitation. So we will go to our user and add this check created by invite, and yeah, we will actually have it in a Boolean label because it's going to be true or false. So let's see. I refresh, and here we see. So created by invite true, and the other ones are false. Now let's invite somebody else. Okay, I can't send an invitation to a user without an email, obvious. So I will try to create a new user, go to users, and we see he is not confirmed, and he was created by invite. And we can actually separately see if he has accepted his invitation, just as an additional check. So we have this field, invitation sent at and accepted at. And we will check if invitation accepted at is present. So invitation accepted at. And we will check if it was accepted. So you see, here it is false, and here it is true. And well, for all the other users, it is false because they were, of course, not created by invite. So they have no invitation to accept. So I think it looks good. We've really quickly added this module Devise Invitable, and this way our users can grow like more organically, and the users can kind of recommend the application to other users. So it's also sort of a recommendation engine. And thinking of this, we can actually display how many users a user has invited and display like the emails of the users that a user invited. So let's do this. Now we are going to write a new sort of relationship for this. We'll go to our user.rb. So models, user.rb, and we're going to write an association. Now you see at the moment we have just one table in our application. So we don't have like any has one or has many or belongs to associations, but we have users and users can reference users. So we will write something like this: has many invitees, then the class name is going to be user, and the foreign key is going to be invited by ID. Okay, let's see if this works. So somewhere on the bottom, I will show how many invitees a user has. Let's say invitees, and we'll say user.invitees.count. Okay, I will refresh. And you see here it is 0, here it is 1. So from this user, I invited a user. So looks good. And let's actually also display the emails of the users that a user has invited. So here we can also say something like equals user invitees dot each do invitee. Okay, then an end statement, not to forget. And we will say equals invitee dot email. Okay, and this way we see the emails of all the users that a user has invited and how many users a user has invited. So this way you can actually build some kind of multi-level marketing if you want. Bad idea. Okay, going on, let's save our changes. So I'll go and stop the server, git status, git add all, git commit main, gem devise invitable. Okay, looks good. So, well, I think it's enough of working on the boilerplate basic functionality. Now we have just an application where users can register and invite other users, but it kind of doesn't bring any value. Let's start with adding posts. So users will be able to create posts. Now, what should a post usually have? A post needs to have a title, content, and maybe the ID of the user that created this post for the beginning. So I guess let's do that. Let's type Rails generate scaffold. Do we want to do a scaffold? Why not? Rails generate scaffold, posts. A post will have a title, and it will have, somebody would say content, or somebody would say body. Let's go with body. So body, and body is going to be text. So a title is a string. If you don't specify anything, then it's going to be a string, and the body is going to be text. And we can also, let's also reference it to the user. So a post belongs to a user. So user belongs to. And this is what people don't like scaffolds for. You see, we have created all these JBuilder files. We've created this SCSS files. We've created the scaffolds as CSS. We've created the test files. I'm not sure if we're going to use these specific tests for the posts. So, I mean, we've created many more files than just a model view controller application needs. What we really need is a model view controller, then update the roots, and a migration. We need just 5 files to get going from the beginning. We don't need all that. Let's clean our changes. Let's just undo everything. Git clean, fd, git reset hard, and I will write the same scaffold, but with a small modification. So again, on my blog, I've got this skinny scaffolds stuff. So we can kind of write a few additional lines to not generate files that we will most likely not use, like helpers, assets, and well, if you're not using JBuilder or specs in your specific use case, then we can also omit them. So we'll say no helper, no assets, no controller specs, no view specs, and so on. And let's generate it once again. And you see we have fewer files. So it is like 70% fewer files. What we have are the views, the controller, the roots, the model, and the migration. Nothing extra. Now let's have a look at our roots. Here they are. So we have added resources posts. Now usually when we do some kind of scaffold, everything is added on the very beginning. I would move it down. Okay, we've got our resources posts, and let's go back to our migrations. So we've got create posts. So a post needs to have a title, actually has a title and has a body. And maybe we shouldn't allow posts with an empty title and an empty body on the database level. So let's add some validation here. Let's say null false for the title and for the body on the database level. Okay. And let's run Rails db migrate. Okay, get status. And let's add some associations. So at the moment, if we go to our models, post belongs to user, but user does not have many posts. So let's say has many posts. And usually when you define has many, you have to define some kind of a destroying strategy. So imagine a use case when a user destroys, like deletes his account. What should happen with the posts or with all the dependent records? Well, we have to set it on this level, on the level of the association. So usually you would say dependent, either destroy or nullify or something like this. Let's say destroy for now, or no, restrict with error. So if we say restrict with error, then the record cannot be deleted if it has any associations. And I really like using this thing, especially for commercial applications. Dependent restrict with error. I think I've typed it correctly. Let's just see. Yeah, must be correct. Okay, so we've added the association on the user side. And let's go to our application. Let's start the application and try to create a post. Yeah, let's also add the post to our Navbar. So go into our header. Now we have our users, invite user, and we will also have posts. So go into posts path. I'm not sure about the icon. Let's choose something. Why is it taking so long to load? Okay, let's say something like post or write, or we can just add a Ruby gem. Yeah, let's just add a gem. Okay, so it's going to be FA gem. And let's refresh the page and go to our posts. So here we have our posts, and now we have 0 posts. So we would need a title, a body, and a user. I would press create post, and it says user must exist. Now we are not going to set the user like this. We're going to set the user automatically in the controller. So let's go to our controllers, post controller. Now, before we do this, let's actually save our changes that we've done on the scaffold. So just the scaffold, and separately we will save the changes for all the updates that we do to the post. So this was done on the scaffold. Okay, get status. So these were added during the scaffold, and these already some edits that we've done later on. So git commit main scaffold posts. Okay, and now going back to the post controller, we will set the user on the create action. Now, another thing I don't like about scaffolds that they create this mess in the controller. So we don't need this, and we don't need this respond do format JSON. So we will also clean this up here and here. Yeah, we should offer an update to Rails 7 so that it's not present there. Okay, then we remove this format HTML and remove this curly braces, and we've cleaned up a bit. Okay, so we have this post equals post new post params, and we'll say at post dot user equals current user, something like this. Let's see if this works. Now I will press create post again, but first I will start the server. Okay, and it says post was successfully created, and the user is, well, the one that is logged in, 102. Okay, so we created a post without a title and a body, and this should be impossible. So we should add some validations on the modal level. So let's go to to post.rb and say validates title presence true, and we'll do the same for our is it body? It's body. Okay, let's try again. We'll go to posts and create a post without the title and the body. And you see we get this error, title and body cannot be blank. And we still have this user field. We should actually totally remove it. So going back to our post controller, we will remove user ID from the available post params. Also remove this commented outlines. And let's go to our post views. So post form. And here in the form, we will remove this field to add a user ID. Okay, let's refresh. So going to posts, and now we can have a field for a title and a field for a body. So looks somewhat fine. Now I will just check if when running the scaffold, we added anything in our assets. So going to style sheets. No, we did not add a style sheets asset. So that's good. We don't need it here. Okay, so we've added posts. Let's create a post. And save our changes. Okay, we've created a post, and let's say we have a body that has a few different lines. So you see, this is still all displayed in one line, though when we go to edit, we have it all in separate lines. Now, if we don't want it to be in one line, we can add some kind of basic formatting. Let's go to our posts show, and here we will add the simple format. No, not here. Simple format, post body. And you see now it is on separate lines, so looks a bit better. And instead of showing just the ID of the user, we'll actually have a link to the user's profile. So we'll have link to post.user and post.user. Now the first is the name of the link, the text that we will see in the link, and the second is actually a link to the post user, so to the user that created the post. Not perfect. Now, why do we have this just user kind of object? Because we didn't define what we want to see in this. We just get the object of the user. We don't get the email or the username. Let's say username. We have previously defined the username. Okay, and we get the username. So looks better. We can navigate to this user and see the user's profile. Looks nice. Okay, so let's maybe go back to see all the posts. And yeah, we have them all in a table. Now, you will definitely not want to have the posts in a table. So here we have like the headers of the table, and here we have the lines of the table. So tables are great for representing a lot of different kinds of data, but not a feed of posts. So now we'll also move the posts into kind of partials. So first of all, let's go to our posts views, and here we have this posts index. Yeah, and it is going to be something similar like we have with our users. So now I'll just close all the windows that we are not using. Quite a lot. Okay, here we have our users and here we have our posts. And we'll create a partial for a post. So we'll have underscore post.html.erb. And here we will have some kind of post details. So here we will have the title. Let's make it big. So we'll have it in an H1 or H3 tag. We'll have equals post.title. And then we're going to have the post body. Now the post body is going to be in the simple format for now. And then we can have, the username who created the post. So we'll say by and the username. Okay, and possibly the links to edit the post and to go back to all the posts. Now we don't really need this link to go back to all the posts. I don't like it. So we will go to our posts and render a partial. So the way we did with our users, here we have this user each to user, we render a partial, and the same will be with the posts. So posts each to post, render posts post, and the same here. Let's see if this works. I will just refresh our posts, and we get this simple format not correct. Yeah, because here I said at post. It should be just post. Also here, and also in the edit action. Okay, and here now we have our posts as a feed, not as a table. So we can actually remove the table, but let's actually leave this delete button for now. So we are going to copy the delete button and add it into the posts partial. Okay, go in here, and next to edit, we'll have this link to destroy the post. Let's see if it works. So by Yarrow, we have edit, destroy. Let's add just some kind of break. Okay, looks better. And here we have this new post button. Let's also move it to our navigation. So going to our index, we'll add this link to our, where is it? Our layout, header. Yeah, styling. And here we'll have a link to new post. And we'll have something like FA plus. Let's see if it works. So we have a link to all the posts. Here we have all the posts, and we have a link to a new post. Okay, and let's also display when the post was created. So the same way we have in our users partial, we have this user created at, and we'll do the same for our posts. So here we'll just add the date. It's going to be just post created at. Let's say on this date by the user's username. And okay, here we have these posts. So we can create posts, we can edit posts. The content is slightly formatted. Let's try to destroy a post. Works. Okay, let's try to create a new post. Now you see, I go to the post and it is totally empty. Let's maybe add some kind of title to them. So here we have our users index and we have a quantity of users, something like that. We'll do something similar for our posts index, and we can remove this ID notice that was added by the scaffold. Here we'll have posts, so posts length and post.count. Okay, 0 posts. Let's create a post. Let's see. So here the post was created, and here it is. Now going to post, we see that we've got one post, and looks not bad. Let's save our changes. So git status, git add all, git commit main, styling. Aha, okay, yeah, I will just add a link to the post. We don't have a link to the post anywhere here. Gotcha. So going to our post partial, I'm going to add a link to the post, same way we did with our users. So we're going to have a link to unless current for the post title. So link to unless current, post title, post. Let's see if it works. Okay, so here we have the post title, the content, we press the title, and we see the post page. So looks fine. Okay, now we can definitely save our changes. Git status, git add all, git commit main, posts basic styling and relationships. Okay, looks fine. And now actually let's add the CounterCache. So CounterCache basically lets us have a database attribute on how many children a record has. For example, a user has 10 posts, one user has 10 posts, another user has 50 posts. And when we load all our users, we want to see how many posts each user has. Now, we can actually just say in the user partial equals user posts count. And for each user that is displayed, we'll have to separately count how many posts the user has. But we'll not be able to make a query with a ransack, for example, on to filter by how many posts a user has. So it will be really, really beneficial if we have this database table, quantity of posts, inside our users table. So let's do it. Let's go to git status and run Rails generate migration, add the posts count to users, posts count integer. Okay, now going to our new migration, we will importantly specify default 0 and null false. Okay, and let's type Rails db migrate and see if it migrates correctly. So going here, we have our users. Here we have post count, default 0, null false. Now it's really, really good to add this default 0. Okay, now we've done the migration, and how do we actually automatically calculate how many posts a user has? Well, they're going to add the kind of a line to our relationships. So whenever a post is deleted or created, we're going to increase the post count of a user by 1. So going to our post.rb, we're going to say something like CounterCache true, if I'm right. Okay, let's actually check this. So going to our user partial, let's also add the quantity of posts. So let's say posts count here and here. Okay, refreshing, and yeah, now the users have post count 0. So let's, what user am I logged in with? Let's see, this Yarrow test. Now I have post count 0. I'm going to create a new post. So with CounterCache and create the post. Okay, now I'm going back to my profile, and you see the post count is 1. So it was increased by 1. Now let's delete this post that we have just created. So let's go to posts. And here we have this with CounterCache post. I will destroy and go to my profile. And you see now we have 0 posts. So this way we can super easily have a database attribute in our users model to always add +1 when a new post was created and -1 when a post was deleted. Now let's actually add a filter for our users to see how many posts a user has. So like to filter the users from the most posting to the least posting on the application. So let's go to our users index. And here we've already previously added a few sort links. So it will just be as easy as adding an additional sort link for posts count and posts count. Now let's see. I will, let's say, create a post. And create another post. And go to our users and filter by post count. So by default, it filters from the least to the most. And let's refilter. So first we see the user that has the highest post count. So kind of works. But by default, with Ransec, I would like to filter from top to bottom, not from bottom to top. So we would have to add some kind of additional filter. Let's check how to do it on the gem Ransec. So sort link, and yeah, there is this default order. So let's try adding the default order. So default order descending. Now I will go back to users and try to refilter. And you see, by default, it is descending. So kind of works. Let's do the same with email. First we have the oldest, and then we have the newest. Okay, yeah, it is really good for integers, for values. So from the highest value to the lowest value by default, but not from the lowest to the highest by default. Okay, so this is how you basically add CounterCache. Get status, get add all, get commit main. Importantly, don't forget to add this CounterCache to your post.rb. Okay, CounterCache posts to users. Okay, looks good. So now we've got our users who can create posts, and well, the posts don't look nice. They look awful. So let's say I want to have a post about on this article, for example. Let's say Ruby highlight link to current page. Let's add this title, and we want to add this content. Let's try adding a piece of this content. Yeah, first of all, the input form looks awful. Yeah, just awful. And when I create the post, it doesn't look nice. Actually, here we have a tiny piece of what looks like HTML. So this looks like at least something interesting. Anyway, we will want to add some kind of text editor, and the one that we are going to add is Markdown. So you must be familiar with Markdown if you've ever used Stack Overflow to ask a question or to try to write something in GitHub. Basically, Stack Overflow is how I got to learn about Markdown when trying to ask questions and understanding that this rich text editing is just not enough for me to ask a beautiful question. So here we can like write with Markdown. So this is code, you see. Then this is a big header. This is a slightly smaller header. This text is regular. Like this, it is highlighted. Like this, it is supposed to be crossed out. Now, apparently, Stack Overflow doesn't support this cross out. So anyway, we're going to add Markdown to our application so that users can create rich text posts. And we're going to do it with the gem red carpet. So let's find the gem. Yeah, here it is. So there's quite a lot of stuff explained here, but we're going to install it in a quick and easy way. I'm going to take the solution from my blog again. So here we have this Markdown. We're going to get this gem red carpet into our gem file. Now let's see if we have any changes to commit. Yeah, so going to the gem file and add in gem red carpet. Okay, and next we need to add a helper to style some kind of text into this Markdown. Now, similarly to what we did with our application helpers to put a Boolean into green or red, we're going to add this helper to wrap some kind of text into Markdown. So I'm going to add this helper, and let's have a look at what this helper does. Basically, it tells us that we will wrap something into Markdown, and these are the options that we are going to use by default. So this red carpet has a lot of different Markdown options, and you can switch some on, not switch some on. So for example, you can permit links or you can not permit links. So then we say that we are creating a Markdown and we are going to have it as HTML safe. So this is also important. And let's actually wrap our post body into this Markdown helper. Now, again, this Markdown helper is just a like presenter, the way the user sees stuff. So we will go to our posts show. And instead of simple format, we will just add Markdown. And let's see if the magic happens. Not yet. And now let's see if the magic happens. Not sure if it happened. Let's try to add some kind of basic Markdown to this post. For example, let's try to put something into code gaps. For example, this code is going to be in code gaps. Now I press update post, and you see it is kind of styled as code. So this seems to be working. Let's add some kind of headers. So let's add a header and update the post. And you see, it's kind of working. So we kind of represent Markdown in our application. So works. Not perfectly yet, but we will still improve, but we've already got Markdown going. Okay, and one more thing we will do, we will slightly improve this input field. So first of all, we'll add it to be a full width field. So going to this body, we'll say width auto. We will say maybe style. And inside of style, we will say width auto. Or let's say width 100%. Yeah, already looks slightly better. And something like columns 20. No, not like this. Actually, here I've got a small helper for this, possibly. Or not. Okay. Yeah, so going back, we actually have this style with 100%, rows 8, and some more styling. Let's try adding this and see how it works. So first of all, we have style width 100%. So it is full width as much as it can see, as much as it can have inside of the current container. Then we would add the rows 8. Yeah, not columns, but rows. So it is by default going to have the height of 8 rows. Then the maximum characters, so for example 5,000 or whatever, the input field will just not let more than this quantity of characters in. And some kind of placeholder to just tell your users that they can use Markdown. So let's try adding this and see if it works. Yeah, kind of works. So the input field looks a bit more friendly. Now, of course, we can make it longer, but by default, it's going to be 8 lines for now. And if we go to a new post, you see we have this placeholder use Markdown for formatting. So it kind of works. And this way we can add Markdown to our application. Now, let's save our changes. So git status, git add all, git commit main, add Markdown. Okay, and yeah, I think it's enough for right now. So we are going to continue later on, and we've done quite a lot of work. So we've added posts, associations between users and posts, and we've added some kind of fancy Markdown editor for our posts. Of course, there's still a lot to do, but we're still in process. And thanks for being with me, and have a great time coding.